Welcome to my chow line. I'm Tracy Lingle. Join me as we serve up dishes that are sure to please. We will also hear stories about food and military service. Today, I am honoring my brother in the RCPT Round Camping Parachute Team, John Black. He sent me a story and I want to share it with you guys. John Black, this is for you. We're going to be making jalapeno poppers. Alright, so they're usually a crowd favorite. Variations can vary from what you put inside, what kind of cheeses you use, to what kind of spices or seasonings you use, what kind of sauce you glaze them with at the end. You can glaze them while they're right at the end of the cook, like you do ribs or chicken or whenever you're doing barbecue. I'm going to be using some grill your ass off spices and sauces. We've got two kinds we can use. We can use Pop Smoke, which is the taco fajita blend for grill your ass off, or we can use the all-purpose Cannibal. You could even go with something like a habanero, or you could go with Cajun. You can mix it up when you mix it with your cheeses, any variation you want. We're going to be fairly mild with ours because I'll be serving this with a group, so there'll be multiple pallets. So we're going to go with basically a little bit of heat with the jalapeno and then a sweetness with the barbecue sauce glaze on top, so that way it's a nice good bite. We should be able to get a little bit of a crunch from the jalapeno if we do it right. We're using thin bacon or standard bacon. Don't use thick cut. If you want to make sure you have some crunch with your jalapenos, because basically all you're going to do is you're cooking it to the bacon. The bacon's the only thing that needs to be fully cooked when you're done with this. So the thinner bacon you use, the faster they cook and the best chance you have of maintaining that crunch from the jalapeno. All right, and there's several ways you can do this, but the way I like to do it to make it easy to cook is how you slice it. So we're going to slice a bunch of jalapenos up, but what you do is, if you see jalapeno's got a curve to it like that, I want to cut it right down just like that. Then we'll clean it out, and then that way it's a boat or a canoe to hold our cheese in, and then we'll wrap it in bacon and set it on the grill. Okay, that way we don't get a ton of leakage out. You have those trays where you can cut the top off, clean them up, and fill them up like that. I don't think those work that great. I prefer this way, and that way you make sure you get good amount of cheese in there, and it's a more manageable bite. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut these all up and get this ready, and we'll wrap in a minute. All right, so I cut up all the jalapenos. If you notice, when you have curved ones, it's better to cut them like that, so that way they'll lay down nice and flat, because if we'd cut it the other way, it wouldn't lay down flat. All right, so I cleaned them out, got as much of the veins and the seeds out. I like using like a table knife or a small spoon to get it in there. It works really, really good. Now, if you really want the hot stuff, you leave some of that in there and just put the cheese around it. Also, you can add spicy things to your cheese to increase the heat level as well. You can add diced jalapenos into the cheese. You could add serranos. You could add, ghost pepper if you really want to get crazy with it. Or you could just, incorporate, red pepper flakes, that kind of stuff. So we're going to now mix up our cheese. I've got some cream cheese. I had a little bit extra cheddar left over from another cook for the family. And I'm going to take some of this Monterey Jack. I got a block and a half of cream cheese. That's probably maybe a cup worth of cheddar cheese, and this is probably maybe a cup and a half to 2 cups of Monterey Jack shredded. Let's see what our consistency looks like. I have some more cream cheese I can add to it because I got a lot of peppers to do. This is all room temperature too, make it a little easier to mix it up together. And I will probably add more cream cheese to this because I like having that creaminess texture, and it also makes it easier. If you hit the creamier it is, the less of these strands you have, the easier it is to pipe, because we're going to use a piping bag to pipe the cheese in. So I'm going to get this mixed up, add a little more cheese to it, and we'll be right back. Alright, so I like mixing this stuff up by hand. Once you get all your cheese in there, I've added some more I had a couple of different cheeses left over, so I'm just mixing those in. You can do whatever you want. You could go with just cream cheese if you wanted to, or you can go with any other kinds of cheeses. You could go with a Mexican queso cheese. That would turn out really good. But you want it to be fairly thick and creamy. You don't want it to be super thin. The thinner it is, the more likely it is going to pour out on you. Although doing it in the boats like this, it won't pour out as much. But as that bacon cooks around it, it will squeeze it, and it will squeeze out some of the cheese. So now at this point, I've got like a dough ball here of cream cheese and cheese mixture. And I'm going to continue mixing this to get a better consistency, but we're going to add our seasonings to it. So now, go ahead and do this right here. So now I'm going to be using, actually, I'm going to use the taco and fajita seasoning, give it a little southwestern flavor. But anyway, I'm going to use the taco seasoning, give it some flair, and then we'll keep going. And I'm going to season very liberally. Ooh, that smells good. Whew. It's got some citrus notes to it. All right. When you mix it up, you should just lightly see it throughout the cheese after it's mixed up. If you don't see it, then you need to add more. And if you feel like you've gone too far, add some more cheese to it. All right, the taco seasoning, I think I've put enough in here. I'm starting to see it a little bit more in the cheese as I mix it up. All right, you should be able to see there's a little bit of specks in the cheese, and that is our seasoning, because it's a very light seasoning anyway, if you can see through the canister. But you're seeing light specks in it, and you know we're good. My neighbor's doing yard work, and I can't do anything to stop it, so we're gonna keep going. Hopefully the sound level isn't that bad. All right, so basically we're just gonna pipe this cheese into each of these. You could use you don't have to use a piping bag. You can spoon it, knife it in. I will probably have to go back and stuff it better. All right, so there's two ways you can fill these poppers up. One is using a piping bag like so, filling them up like that. Or you can take it and just do it by hand. Either one gets the job done. So I'm going to finish stuffing all these, and then we'll get ready and I'll show you what it looks like to wrap them. All right, so I've cut my bacon in half. I just cut the package in half and just pulled it out. Now I've let this bacon warm up a little bit. It's not super cold, so that way it makes it a little easier to wrap. The colder it is, the harder it is to get it to stretch and go around, but we're using it just to bottom, and then we're going to place it on this tray just like that. And we'll do the same thing over and over again, and we'll try to make sure that at least the beginning and the end, or the end of the bacon, ends up underneath the popper. And as it cooks, it'll dry in, and we'll throw a little seasoning on this too. But I'm gonna go ahead and fill this rack up. We'll get our smoker started, and we'll get this wrapped up. All right, so I've got these all wrapped up. I'm going to sprinkle just a little bit of this seasoning on top of the bacon, and then we're going to set them on the smoker. All right, so now we've come to the part where I tell you a story. I'm honoring my brother from Round Canopy Parachute Team. His name is John Black. I wanted to tell his story. He sent this to me unprompted, well, kind of prompted, when I asked for if anybody had any stories from their time in the service. And he sent this to me, and he sent a bunch of pictures. I'll start loading them up, but I've already got some horse soldier bourbon poured, and then got myself a Warfighter tobacco stick here. We're gonna get this lit up. Time for our story. All right, John Black. I was in the 82nd Airborne Division during Desert Storm. I was in the 2nd Brigade, which was the first to deploy into theater. Oh, by the way, cheers, John Black, to your service. I was in the 2nd Brigade of the 82nd Airborne during Desert Storm, which was the first to deploy into theater. I was assigned to the 319 AFAR, or Field Artillery Unit. In the 82nd Division Artillery, DIVARTY is the acronym. AFAR is the acronym for the artillery, field artillery, and then Division Artillery is DIVARTY. In case those of you that don't know the acronyms or don't know how the Army works or the military works with acronyms for everything, some of them make sense and some of them don't. And then attached to Bravo Company 2325, second of the 325 AIR, as the company FSO. The AFR, DIV, the FAR, DIVARTY, Air, FSO. So he's an officer, and basically he's the firing officer for an artillery unit. Anyway, prior to moving up into the Iraq border, I had received a care package from my Uncle Dennis. I grew up playing Army with his uniforms, and even though he told me the military's no good, not to join, you know, some of those grumpy guys, probably Vietnam vet. The military's no good, and did not join. Of course, that's exactly what I did. Yep. Reverse psychology. Maybe? No. Just what happened. Sometime in December, I received his care package that contained an assortment of things for me to share with my team. Water pistols, magazines, a Santa hat with a second lieutenant bar on it, and a large box of rigatoni pasta and a large jar of tomato sauce. I distributed the toys, but held on to the pasta and the sauce. We had hot chow, served out of an MKT, and even some local procured meat and fresh produce, so we weren't hurting badly for chow. In late January 1991, at the beginning of the air war, we moved north by C-130 to Rafah, KSA, which is Saudi Arabia, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and by truck to the border of Iraq. We were dug in by the 307th Engineer Battalion, and for the next 6 weeks prior to invading, we lived in holes in the ground. Our company had a GP large tent that was set up in the bottom of a hole, or basically the engineers would dig out a lower area and put berms up around any tents or structures, so that way if you're looking across the desert, you can't see anything behind it. And so they had set up a tent in the bottom of a hole the engineers had dug, so that the only part of the tent was a little bit of the peak that was visible. At night, my team would meet in the tent and fire up the M2 gas stove, potbelly stoves. Those things are scary as all get out. Maybe make some coffee and chit chat and hang out, because it would, if I'm not mistaken, it's January in the desert, so it might be warm during the day, but it's going to be really cold at night. So they're going to hang out by the stove. We hadn't had a hot meal in weeks. When I showed up one evening with the pasta and sauce in hand, my team looked at me wide-eyed in disbelief. Yeah, I bet they were asking, "You've been holding out on us, sir? What's this? Where'd you get that? Who'd you steal that from?" We took a pasta and a 50 caliber ammo can and ate it up. We cooked the pasta in a 50 cal ammo can. I'm having a hard time reading. Maybe I need a little more. And they ate it up. I can't remember a better tasting meal or a happier moment that I've shared with my brothers in arms. Wow, that's a perspective. That's the second time that I've gone through some of these stories that care packages have been mentioned as a way of bringing joy to guys in the field. I don't know if you've ever received a care package from home, whether it be from the wife or from a church group or from a school or something like that, and you've been on the receiving end of some of that stuff. My wife had sent me some care packages, mainly cigars, when I was in Saudi Arabia, way after this. But actually 10 years after this. But the feeling of receiving the package alone is, receiving something from home. It basically, takes you out of the moment that you're in there. Whatever stress, whatever you've got going on in the moment where you are, takes you out and brings you back home in some form or fashion. And then when you're able to share that with others around you, a lot of people are just greedy and want all the candy and the cookies and all that stuff. But a lot of times it's the taste, the smells of home. It just, because everybody has that connection with food or with stuff like that. So, a chocolate chip cookie could mean loads and it can mean something different to each person. But a chocolate chip cookie, fresh homemade chocolate chip cookie, even if it was sent in a box and sat in a box for a week trying to get it to you, can have a lot of meaning in a situation like that. So, well, thank you, John Black, for sharing this story with us. Just remember, everybody, we all have stories like this of some form or fashion. You're not alone. Please share stories with me that I can share with everyone here. Reminder, in a few weeks, I will be in Normandy. So this is coming out. When this is coming out, I'll have probably about a week before I leave for Normandy when you see this, when this video drops. I'm going to try and release some videos, one just before I leave, and then also I'm going to try and record some videos and do some interviews in Normandy, jumping for the 80th anniversary of D-Day. But until then, enjoy yourselves out there. If you do drink, try some Horse Soldier bourbon. If you do smoke cigars, try a Warfighter cigar. Just thank you guys. Don't let the hard days win. We'll see y'all when I get done with this cook. I'm gonna check on these poppers, and then we'll get back to the regularly scheduled program. Thanks, guys. Color on the bacon is looking good. They're starting to tighten up. Squeeze some of the cheese out. We will get to a point we're going to start rubbing it down with some barbecue sauce to glaze it. All right, so we're going to be using this original style barbecue sauce from Grill Your Ass Off for its work. So I'm gonna start glazing these up. They're getting close to being done, and we'll get back and see the finished product later. Well, this is a cook I did for John Black. Jalapeno poppers, my style, with using the Grill Your Ass Off seasonings, the taco and fajita seasoning, and glazing with the original barbecue sauce from Grill Your Ass Off. And these have been cooling down sufficiently now. I'll give one of these a try. Just look at that. I don't know if you can hear that crunch. But you got the crunch of the jalapeno, sweetness of the sauce on the, just a hint of the sweetness on the sauce, creaminess of the cheese. The seasonings are there. It's not super strong at all. It's actually very mild. Oh my goodness. Wow. Wow. Okay. I'm gonna have a hard time putting these down. And you get a little bit of heat on the back end, but not a lot. Now that's how you're supposed to eat a popper. Really good. Try these jalapeno poppers. Try out the seasonings. Pair it with a good drink. I've got a cocktail going, but man, try this out. You won't regret it. Next party, next get together, great little appetizer. Thanks. And if you have a story you would like to share with me, for me to share with everyone else, please send me a message through Instagram, or leave a comment. However you can get a hold of me, let me know you got something. Thanks, guys.